Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Unnext News Radio podcast, your news source for all things unexplained. And now, here's your host for the Unnext News podcast, Margie K.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Unnext News. I'm your host, Margie K, and I apologize for the delay in photo, but my really good camera went out, so I'm having to use an old one. But at any rate, we have a good show for you tonight. First, I want to mention our book, The Fast Movers, Evidence of High-Speed UFOs, UAPs, by myself, Bill Spicer, and Wayne Lawrence. This book is a compilation of ideas that, and really the three of us came to the same conclusion at different times. And what it is extremely fast-moving UFOs that I see with the naked eye, and that Bill and Wayne were able to figure out how to capture them on video using the quantum telepathic UFO observation technique. So if you want to know more about that, get that book at Amazon. This last weekend, we had our first anniversary party for the Unnext Network on October 31st, of course, as we will every year. And I have really good news for everyone. It turns out that as for all paranormal podcasts that are going out, we are number 3. And we accomplished that in only 1 year. So that is very encouraging. And I thank everybody who has been involved. Of course, Race has been the most involved in that. And I really appreciate what you've done, Race, this past year. It's been wonderful working with you. We had a contest for the Halloween special for our anniversary. And the winners are now up at our website at unnextnetwork.com. If you would like to just go there and click on that Halloween contest, you'll see that. And then there's a little bit more detail about that in our blog. So we had a blog posting. If you'd like to become a free subscriber to the Unnext Network, go to unnextnetwork.com, and right there on the front page, you can sign up and you will get our blog notices, our event notices, show notices, and also we are doing the Unnext News magazine, of course, quarterly, and you will receive a free digital subscription to that. So really, it pays to get a free subscription there. My guest this evening is Martha Hazard Decker. I was lucky enough to meet this lady at the Arkansas Paranormal Expo this past weekend, or two weekends ago. And she is just amazing. We have a lot in common, and I had to have her come on the program. She's a retired police detective and assistant chief of police. She's a Texas law enforcement certified instructor, was a SWAT member and negotiator, as well as a rescue diver. Her specialty was domestic terrorism and crimes against children. Decker was also on the North Texas Anti-Terrorism Task Force. She's an award-winning journalist, best-selling author, and published photographer. Decker is the founder of East Texas Paranormal and is considered an empath. She's investigated the unexplained for over 30 years. Decker investigates a variety of paranormal or supernatural cases with private individuals and businesses. And she works with law enforcement agencies regarding unsolved crimes and missing persons. And there's where we have something really big in common. She recently completed the first book in a 3-part series on Haunted Hill House in Mineral Walls, Texas. And that is what we're going to focus on this evening. Welcome to the program, Martha.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it. And I was just as glad to meet you this past weekend, too.
Well, like I said, we do have a lot in common. And of course, I've worked as a private investigator and worked on missing persons cases and unsolved homicides for, I don't know, 30 or 40 years. And you've done the same. And you are an empath as well. So does that really
Correct.
help
Yeah.
you in your investigations?
It does. All through law enforcement, I don't know. I wasn't thinking, but that's what I was using. That's your sixth sense, your gut instinct. I used it a lot. I used it when I would interrogate, when I would interview. If I had a call for an open window, open door, searching for somebody for warrants, I could almost use that to tell if anybody was even in the house, and that or if there was something that was dangerous where just you need to back up and wait for some more backup. So I use it all the
Hmm.
time without really paying attention to it.
I call it my spidey sense. Yeah,
Yep.
that's
Me too.
that
Me
that would
too.
come in very handy, especially in law enforcement when you're can be in very dangerous situations. I would
Yeah.
think.
When that hair stands up on the back of your neck, just stop and
Hmm.
wait for your backup
There you
when
go.
you can. Yeah.
Now, you are also a paranormal investigator, and you founded East Texas Paranormal. What prompted you to do that?
Well, I've done things on my own for a long, long time. And once I retired from the police department and went to work for the state, I was out of county. And being in East Texas and working felony cases, I just didn't want to give any defense attorney anything that they could try to use that might possibly, sway the jury to my credibility with my felony
Hmm.
cases. Although most of them pled out and they never did go to trial. I was fortunate in that way.
Okay. And do you have a team that works with you?
I do have a team, and my team is a group of people that I've known for a long time. And depending on where it is, what it is, different members will go with me, to different locations.
Hmm.
If there's, because we investigate everything. If it's something that they think it's paranormal, but I may have a feeling that it may be something more alien, then I bring in people in addition to myself who know different things to look for, different things to ask. If it's something that, maybe they might have some voodoo, hoodoo, Santeria, I bring in our psychic medium. I also bring her in when I get a sense after interviewing them by phone and not in person. I will holler at her and ask her to give them a call and see what kind of reading she gets off the person. Generally, if I'm feeling like they're either lying or maybe there may be some mental issues with this person, and then we'll go from there.
This might seem like a very strange question, but did you just recently do a very serious investigation?
I did. I did. It was down in San Antonio. And this one I brought Deborah Colleen Rose with me to it. It was one that Bishop James Long had asked me to investigate. And I talked to this lady for I don't know how many hours off and on until I was actually able to go to her house. And it sounded like she thought her husband was possessed. And Deborah, I had Deborah go. Deborah calls herself Christian mystic, so she's psychic. She's also has over 30 years of PI. While I do statement analysis, she does handwriting analysis. And just I thought that more of our investigative techniques might work more with her too, with this lady. And it turned out that he's not possessed, but that there were two curses on this family. You had a generational one because the whole family is psychic and has been for generations, and something happened generations ago, and they had a gypsy curse put on them. So we gave them the tools to work with that. And, she really wants, sometimes people just want that quick fix, like you're just going to wave a wand and poof.
Uh-huh.
And, and it doesn't work that way.
Okay.
It's something
Well,
that
the
they have to
reason I
look at.
asked you that question is because while you were talking a couple of minutes ago, I heard a man's voice come through, and he said, "I see you," and it kind of gave me the
Okay.
well. So I'm hoping that that was captured on our recording, and we'll see. I'll ask Grace to take a look at it,
Hang on. Let's
listen
see.
to it.
I have that on my phone, but I believe I have my phone on airplane mode. So that's okay. It wasn't my
Oh,
phone. My text message will say that, but I have it on airplane, so no notifications are coming through.
oh, well, it managed to come through to me. Okay, that was kind of
Right.
creepy. Uh,
So I had to check
well,
that real quick just to make sure.
well, let's talk about the Hill House. How did you get interested in that?
Well, Kathy and Sonny, the owners, actually had seen me in Jefferson at the History, Haunts, and Legend conference years earlier, and I've known them about 4 or 5 years now. And then they bought Hill House in 2018, and they knew a good friend of mine, Maria Elena Santos Kemp. She's the one of the psychic mediums that I use with my team. And they were having that October when they just bought the house, they were having an event. So Maria got me to go up there and meet them, and then everything has just progressed from there. I started
So, how many
initially. I only
times
stayed
have
in a
you?
hotel. Have I
Uh,
been there? Oh my goodness, I have no idea how many times. Minimum of 6 times a year. And there's for a while there working on the book, it seemed like I was going 2 or 3 times a month. And I'd stay in the house. I would Kathy and Sonny would be there on some of the occasions. They'd be there, but they're sleeping out in the camper out back. And so I'm in the house all by myself. I've been in there many times overnight
Pretty
by
brave.
myself. We're teams. Well, I don't know. I know that there's a lot of teams and there's a lot of humor that don't make it through the night at the house. They're sleeping on the porch, they're sleeping in their cars, they're sleeping on the floor under the table in the kitchen. And,
Well, what's the
to me,
history
if you're
of the
of the
what's the
house,
history of the
well,
property? Hmm.
the house has been there since the 1860s. Initially, it started as an A-frame. There's 3 wells on their property, and they were actually the first wells in Mineral Wells. And there is a place called Crazy Water that is rather famous, and people go there to this day to get water from them. And they initially were telling people the story of how they got named that way was because there was a crazy lady in town who started drinking the water and it cured her. Well, the crazy lady they were talking about is Deborah Renfro. Deborah Renfro was the sister of the lady who owned the property that's now called Hill House, and that's where she lived. And so then that's where the wells actually were that she first started drinking out of. So you have that history. Prior to that, you have Native American history. The house itself has been a makeshift hospital. Some of the owners, one owner and his son were doctors. Another one was actually one of the first Texas Rangers. And another time, so it's been a makeshift hospital. It's been a brothel. It's been a speakeasy. It's catty corner to the Baker Hotel, which is pretty famous worldwide. And there's tunnels. Well, there's various tunnels throughout town, but there's a direct tunnel that goes from the Baker Hotel to Hill House, or to the Baker to the church across from it, and from the church to the house.
Oh, how convenient.
There was well, I know. And the thing is, we have had Donna McCauley, who is a historian for Parker County. She is a historian for the city of Weatherford. She is the historian for Hill House, and she has pulled up through her research, a lot of documents documenting the births, the deaths of different residents of the house. So there's all this documentation, so that as they, so it's not just made up stuff or things that have been whispered around town. Well, you have some of that. There's actual documentation, and we know where a number of the people are buried. There's several cemeteries that we've been to. I've seen the gravestones myself. And I mean, there's been murders there. There's been natural deaths there. You have Native American history. There was a brother, sister who were kidnapped years ago by some of the natives. There's 3 different tribes that were in the area. And when the boy escaped, he went on to grow up and I think be an admiral. He went on into the Navy, was an admiral, and he actually wrote a book. And that John Wayne movie, I think it's called The Searcher, is about his story, but they changed the name, they changed the location, but it was about that area. There was so there was a sign that was behind the house that said "Welcome to Mineral." It just said "Welcome," and a tornado took it out, and they put it on another mountain. Well, that's where the idea for the Hollywood sign came from. A family member, a relative of the people that were living at Hill House. He was a very well-known Hollywood movie producer, and he came to visit, and he saw the welcome sign, and he was one of them that was integral into getting the Hollywood sign up, over in LA.
That's interesting.
And a little while later, his son killed him in LA, claimed that he thought he was a burglar. So that just kind of adds to the rest of the stuff from Hill House. I think that was in '84. It was in the '80s sometime when he did that. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So have any murders occurred in the house?
There are several murders that are we have one boy named that was named Joshua. And like I said, they have his full name. We know where he's buried. He was murdered by his father, who beat him to death. Joshua was, I don't know if he was deformed or if he was Down syndrome, but he had something that was, where he wasn't normal. And this was to have been during Prohibition times, and where they still made him stay in the attics, just like the, the boy over at the Limp Mansion in St. Louis. And he started to come down, and his father was actually on the house at the time. His name was Willie, and he was also Joshua's uncle. He had raped Joshua's mother, who was his niece.
Oh, dear.
And so.
Do you hear something?
I'm hearing knocking in here.
I just heard that too.
Did you hear that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think something's visiting you.
I got goosebumps all over.
Uh-huh.
That's interesting. Ah. Well, it's kind of dark outside. I can't see, but yeah, banging on the window, it seemed like.
It just got really dark. And you've got tornado warnings there right now, don't you?
No, not right now. It's we're kind of in a calm right now. But it would be interesting if all of a sudden you saw me go flying.
Oh, well, hope not.
Well, I hope not too. But I have a bunch of woods for a good break behind me. But there was a cowboy that supposedly fell in a well. That one they haven't been able to, prove. And he was drunk, fell in the well, was pushed in the well, and of course he drowned, and they pulled him out. And then there's another little boy named Jacob. Oh, I was telling you about Joshua. So his father beat him to death because he tried to come downstairs, and then his mother, Elizabeth, tried to protect him, and Willie beat her to death as well the same day. So they both died on the same day.
Oh, dear.
And then Jacob, we don't know who Jacob's, who he was related to, but Jacob was sexually tortured, assaulted, and then hung outside to make it look like he accidentally hung himself on his sling.
Oh my God.
So
that's some dark energy there.
There is. There really is. This weekend at the house, the people that were there, I talked to Maria. She was at the house because Tim Woods had an event there this weekend, and they were hearing and seeing a big wolf over there. And turns out there's been several accounts of a wolf. Now it's in the city, and there's a lot of city growth, but the hill is very overgrown, and it's not unusual to see maybe a dozen deer in the backyard of the house or in the side yard because there's a pear tree. So there are deer up there, but a wolf is kind of unusual over there.
I'd be interested to find out how big it is. If maybe we're talking
Maria
about something
said
that's
it was
not a wolf.
Exactly. Because there has been that kind of activity around that area as well. I was there the week before I went to Arkansas, and we did a CE5 session then and stayed outside. We were out there, after midnight. I keep hearing stuff back that
I
way.
just heard that very clear. Sounded like a door closing or something.
Yeah.
Is anyone else in the house with you?
No, I'm out in the camper.
Oh. Okay. Well, I'll tell you, I don't think
I was listening to see if it was raining, and I don't think it's raining, but the wind's blowing.
Okay.
But
well, we're going to be up on a break in just a minute, and when we come back, I want to ask you if you've ever had any entities or anything follow you home after an investigation. So we are going to take a short break, and we'll be back right after this. Medical Mary has the highest quality CBD products to enhance your health and wellness goals. Our cutting-edge formulas are not only made with the best ingredients, but also are curated to target specific needs for the body. Use CBD for energy, weight management, pain and stress relief, beauty, sleep quality, pets, and more. Our motto is people helping people. Start your journey into improved health and happiness with Medical Mary CBD. Available at medwoman.medicalmarypartners.com. That's medwoman.medicalmarypartners.com. Or visit my website, margiek.com, for a link. I use Medical Mary, and I love it, and it works. I sleep better and feel better thanks to Medical Mary CBD. Visit margiek.com for more information. Are you thinking about purchasing a wood-fired heating or cooking appliance but don't know where to start? The new book, Wood-Fired Heating and Cooking, will guide you through the process and make the decision much easier. Find out about wood stoves, wood-burning fireplace inserts, masonry heaters, cook stoves, brick ovens, and more. Learn about operation and maintenance, buying and storing wood, even how to make your own charcoal. A bonus section includes delicious recipes for cooking in a wood-burning oven, grill, tandoori oven, or smoker. The wise homeowner, prepper, or homesteader will have the ability to heat their home with wood when the power goes out or to save money on increasing gas bills. Wood-fired heating and cooking is available at Amazon. Visit www.woodfiredpub.com for more information. That's woodfiredpub.com. We are back with NX News. I'm your host, Margie K. And I just found out that there are some tornado warnings in our Studio B in Arkansas, and Race might have to be taking cover here in just a minute. But we're speaking with Martha Hazard Decker this evening. Welcome back, Martha. Just before the break, I asked you to answer the question, have you ever been followed home by anything?
I have not. I have not. Not yet. But if you just missed, it sounded like all hail had broken loose. But it's from the trees, like the acorns. We're kind of right in the middle of an area with tornadoes ourselves. So, but the wind picked up, and it's like, whoa.
So it's not ghosts.
Anyway, so if you hear that
acorns.
right now, that's what that is. Well, it is now. I don't know what that was earlier. Yeah, earlier was a knock, but I've been fortunate. Nothing has ever followed me home. I use protection. I do bring items home from people. They call and they ask me to come get the items, and I bring them to the house, and they're fine at the house. I had talked to John Zaffis a few years ago about a fact that when people call me and tell me everything and we talk, and one of the things I wait for from them is a detailed email with address, name, phone number, and all that. When I don't get it, I'll call them back. I usually call them back one time, and I ask, if they're going to send it, was there a problem? And they usually would say, well, nothing's happened since I talked to you. So I was talking to John Zaffis about that at an event, and he just is like, well, that's because you're a neutralizer. So I feel fairly comfortable. If I don't feel comfortable about something, then I just don't bring it home, or it may end up over at Hill House, possibly.
Right. Now, has anybody ever been injured at Hill House or attacked?
Yes, people have been, a number of people, several hundreds of people actually have been scratched at the house since they've owned the house. I was scratched at the house. I was bitten at the house. Some people have deep gouges. Some people, it's just very light and it kind of feels tickly or like a spider's walking across them. There have been a few short-lived possessions at the house. There was one, in fact, I was there twice in October for events. At one of those, somebody was possessed, but Kathy is knowledgeable about that. Kathy and some of the owners are very knowledgeable, and they know how to handle that. And in fact, and the person she was a paranormal investigator. She'd been around it for a long time, but her energy was lowered. She was more open. Her husband had died this year, and I think she was going in the hopes of maybe hearing or speaking with her husband. People have talked to their loved ones at the house, just like people who were not believers in Christianity have left the house as believers. They do not allow nobody under 16 can go in the house. They won't allow children in the house at all. And if there's been a few times she's made allowances, of course, they were with their parents. But like we're talking maybe 15. She just, because of the negative stuff in the house, there's children in the house and there's former owners. So it's not all bad in the house, but there's portals there. You know, when I got scratched and bit, I had missing time in the house, about an hour and a half missing time. So, yeah. So
I remember you
people
telling
get
me
rocks
that
thrown at them. Yeah,
you
it's crazy.
you went into a room and you were gone for 90 minutes and you didn't know it. Is that what happened?
Right, right. There had been an event there. I had been scratched and bitten, and then I was just sitting in the room holding my phone. And I don't do that. Kathy had come in and said, we're all in here, we're doing something, come on in. And I just sat there. And, my thing is like, Kathy, why didn't you come drag me in there? Instead, they all watched me on the monitor for 90 minutes. And I was just still. So, I don't know, because for me, there was no missing time. So,
oh my goodness, yeah. That is weird.
So that could be, any number of reasons for that. Yeah.
So, let me show this. Know. What is this?
Okay, that is those are scratch marks or bite. I don't know, scratch bite that Sheila Gay got when she was there. Sheila Gay visited the house several times. She was a paranormal investigator. She also had a radio show, and I believe that happened while she was actually doing her show live. She had gone into what's called the Shadow Man room and had gone into the sealed up bathroom. The bathroom had been sealed up for 50 years. There had been a murder-suicide in that bathroom. So I forgot about that one. And so she was in the bathtub. It still has the original bathtub. They opened it up, fixed it up and everything. So it's functional. But it has the original medicine cabinet and has the original bathtub. So she was in the bathtub and she was doing an Estes method session, and that happened while she was doing that.
Mm-hmm. Why don't you explain what the Estes method is?
Okay, the Estes method is when you take and you put blindfold on so you can't see any light whatsoever. You put noise canceling headphones on, and then you have those plugged into an SB7 type piece of equipment, and that's one that runs there's a variety of things you can use besides that, but you use that, and it runs through all the radio stations, AM or FM, or sometimes the recorded messages, but like what they have there, they run it in reverse, and because your senses are more heightened when you can't see anything or hear anything, and they will ask questions often they're in another room. And they will ask questions, and as the person who is blindfolded is listening, they will, speak out whatever they hear. You have no idea what, if it's in relation to anything they've asked, but that's what you do. You don't ask, that person doesn't ask the questions. They're asking questions in another room. And sometimes it's very interesting when you get direct answers, specific answers to the questions.
Have you ever gotten any answers in Hill House?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Hill House is a place that you get answers when you do that. You hear audible comments. I mean, we're not just talking about a word here or there, but whole sentences. You hear that in the house. You hear growls. You hear hisses. You hear giggling children. You hear footsteps. You hear stomping and running. The piano is played when I've been there. Doors will open and shut down. So you get all of that in there. I've been in there, and you can hear the residual going up and down the stairs when you stay the night. You can hear in the living room, you can hear what sounds like a party with a lot of people talking, but it's just far enough and soft enough. You can't make out what they're saying. And people wake up there was one lady that woke up to a little girl jumping on her bed one morning, and she was irritated and went and wanted to know why Kathy let her granddaughter, go in there and do that. Well, there were no children in the house. It's like, it wasn't my grandchild. There's
do people live in the house, or is this just open for tours?
No. Well, it's not open for tours. People can rent the house. They hold, they hold a few events every year, and they'll usually hold those in October. There's a few other select few that will hold events at the house during the year. The rest of the time, it can just be rented by anybody. And granted, you have people that go do birthdays and anniversaries at the house. But you have they look at having the house as more of a paranormal research center. They've had scientists come spend, like a week at a time at the house, running equipment, trying to determine what different things are there, scientifically. So it's not a fun or games place. It's not a place for amateurs or beginners, unless they have somebody knowledgeable with them. They provide a lot of equipment, so that if somebody doesn't have any equipment, it's no problem. They can bring up to 8 people total when they come stay for the night. Like I was there in September, but with just 2 of my friends, because we wanted to just go over there, and really we don't even investigate because I've been there so many times. I know the stories, I know the history, and we can just almost hang out and have interaction throughout the day or the evening without, investigating. You just have to kind of be aware of your surroundings.
Sounds like an extremely active place. I'd like to go down there sometime with you. Maybe we can arrange that sometime.
Yeah, it is. It's and it's active every day.
And what is this piece of equipment, and do you like how it works?
Well, this is an SLS camera, and of course, there's no proof that what you see in the stick figure is actually, something. The SLL cameras were initially invented or created to do mapping for gaming, and people would put the suits on, and eventually they turned to using those in the paranormal world. And the figures appear where the equipment, where it's reading that there's a person there of some sort. You just have to be very careful with those to be, again, aware of your surroundings, because it can take items hanging on the wall, items on a shelf, and misinterpret that as a person. But what's interesting is when you use this camera or you use this and you have somebody that's standing next to it, this one, the person is going to be in front of it. But if they were side by side, and you say something, you seem to be communicating, and you say something like, can you pat them on the head? And then one of those arms goes up and pats someone on the head. Or you say, can you kick them? And you see the leg kick. Because we've done that, I don't know, a number of times. So, who knows? But that's
amazing.
It's another tool.
I like the latest equipment. It's much more sophisticated, and every year something new comes out or gets better, and it's quite interesting to me to see the different types of equipment and use it. Do you?
And sometimes, go ahead.
Do you capture EVPs in the house?
All the time. In fact, somebody gets them on there. They have cameras in every room but the bathrooms, and then they have security cameras within the house and on the outside. And they get EVPs all the time on the security cameras. You don't even have to just use, a recorder or anything to get the EVPs. And he sends some of those to me, and I have a TikTok page, and I will put those on there so other people can watch them. But the interesting thing about Hill House is that you can have something that's very distinct, you can hear it very well, and then one day the audio's just gone, whether it's from your
Oh,
phone or it does that. I mean, it's not just me, it does that
yeah.
to other people. It'll wipe off with the security cameras. They have those, so if something happens, whoever's there can go back and rewind, and then they can always, take a video of it playing. Sometimes there'll be minutes that are just disappear on the security cameras, like something
I've
doesn't
had
want
that
you to
happen.
see.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't want
Hmm.
you to see something and they'll take it off.
They picked
It's
up
pretty
EVPs like,
amazing.
"Are you recording this?" Some people, they
Oh,
don't want
really?
recording at all. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh my
The house has been
goodness.
on any number of shows. They've been on all sorts of shows. They've been on, I don't know, they've been on a bunch of them. And, they've
Hmm.
been on, of course, Portals to Hell. And then they've been on Fright Night. I Want to Believe, a bunch of the ones with Jack Osborne. I was on Portals to Hell. They, Paranormal Declassified did a good piece on them. Apex on a streaming service called Paraflix. There's Apex with their series that just played, I think, the last 2 weeks of their time there. There's another one with somebody that will be coming out sometime, in the next 6 months, maybe from there. That I was there for that one as well, and they haven't released that one yet. Uh, they were on Death Walker with Nick Groff. That hasn't played in the U.S. yet. It's played in Canada and the U.K. on Discovery Plus, but he hasn't been able to get it on Discovery Plus in the U.S. yet. So I don't know when it'll be here. But if somebody's, in the UK or in Canada, they can go find it and watch it.
You
And I
mentioned
lost track
earlier,
of all the different ones. What?
you mentioned that you were doing the CE5 on that site. So does that mean that you have seen UFOs there?
Yeah, Kathy and Sunny have some photos that may possibly be. They have had some experience, and there is history of the UFOs in the city. So we were out there. We went out there in October. One of the events was a UFO event, and had several speakers. And I brought some friends of mine, and Nancy and Henry Moss, who has like telepathic. I mean, just at the snap of the fingers, practically, he has access, and he can. Telepathically get messages, send messages, and it's amazing. So he did that there too.
Hmm.
And that was the first time he had ever done that with a group of people. But there's something dark right now at Hill House that we don't know what it is. But when it was just Nancy Henry and I in September, he could feel something really dark just literally run up behind him while we were doing this. And then he broke the connection, and it wanted to do the same thing in October while we were there. Uh, and he kind of controlled that a little bit better because he had run sessions a couple of times during the night. But yes, so we don't know with the portals, there may be more to the portals in the missing time. As I said, this house has so many layers to it. Just you can go on and never talk about everything. There's so much there.
It really does sound to me like you've got a big portal at that site and interdimensional things are coming in and out at will. And and I'm certainly with CE5 is similar to what I do
Right.
with the telepathic communication technique, and you send that message out and they get it. It's telepathy, and I think it's the same way with spirits. If
Right.
you initiate a telepathic communication, they will come in. Do you find that to be true?
Sometimes I do. It's just Sometimes yes, sometimes no, but the times when you don't, there just may not be, they may not want to communicate. We have been in there where there was a living room, and Joshua, a long time ago, he'd been told he can come downstairs. He's the one that was, murdered in the house. And so there's
Mm-hmm.
one room off the living room that was kind of playing in. And for a while there, somebody just on a whim started singing nursery rhyme in the kitchen, and then the door to this room opened. And then they would bring little trucks out, red trucks, and would have them roll, and it would open up. So we were in there, and while we were in there, we were trying different nursery rhymes. And so Kathy was sitting on the edge of the couch by the door. The door was closed, and we ended up on Duck, Duck, Goose. When you hit the goose, Kathy would get up and run around the coffee table, and the door to that room would open up. And then she would
Oh,
stop and say, Joshua, if you want to play again, close the door. The door would close. We did that about 6 times. She'd run, door would open, say close, and the door would close. And nobody was around the door, and there
oh
wasn't
my.
anybody in that other room. So, yeah.
It looks like you've got a lot of evidence that you've collected over the years at this place. Are there any other places you've investigated that would be similar to this one and just as busy?
No, no, I have never been anyone as busy. There was an old hospital that was given to a city and a county over in Pittsburgh, Texas, over in farther northeast Texas. And I had a friend who was talking about, they were, about negotiating for it to be given to him. And this was before all the big streaming services. And he was talking about doing what, say, Google Chrome would do, or the Roku channel. He's talking about this, and having studios where the college students could come and learn how to be, do a TV show and have paranormal investigations, because that one had activity. When I went to it, it had activity. It had some dark activity, but absolutely nothing like where I've never been anywhere that has as much activity as this house. I'd like to go somewhere and find a place like that, but it makes a lot of the other places, if you're just going to maybe pick up an EVP, it's like, it's an EVP, big deal. I don't feel the need
Right.
to go over and do that. Yeah.
I wonder if have you had EVPs come through other things besides a recorder, like a car radio or something like that?
Um,
The reason I ask is that
well, I've
that
heard them
happened
on
to
the
me once.
telephone.
Oh, really? What did they
Well, I
say?
do know that. Yeah, I've had it on the. Yeah, I've had it like that through the phone. I know that there was a sheriff's department that had called me in on an unsolved murder. And then I became friends with the CID captain, and his house that he's been building. He put up for sale because it's so haunted. And there's a whole long story with it, and
Mhm.
and I've been there numerous times trying to, work with him on the house. But he called me one day because he was on the phone talking to his wife, and he was headed out to have lunch with her when they both heard coming over the speakers, hi, Walter. And he goes by Walt. And the man who built the house in 1910 actually calls him Walter.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, yeah, they called and was like, "Oh my God!" It's like, well, at least he likes you, so that's a good
Well,
thing,
that's good.
right?
Have you seen any, say, full-bodied apparitions there?
Um, No, I haven't seen full body. I've seen like the dark shadows, and there's something upstairs right now that is not Toby. Toby is the demon upstairs, and the previous owners, the ones that lived there for 20 years, claim that they summoned Toby, and we're not sure exactly what Toby is because you can't trust a whole lot. But it's something else. It's very dark. It's very tall. It's very broad-shouldered, and it's not friendly. It can make people nauseous. It can hurt somebody. So they're really careful with that one and try not to acknowledge that one.
Has anybody tried to get rid of that one?
Yet, I don't know. She doesn't, Kathy and Sonny don't keep anything at the house, and beings come and go. You have the ones that stay there, usually like the older people, like the children and stuff that just stay there, but they could go if they want to. But the other stuff, different things will show up periodically. Plus, you don't know what people will bring with them when they come.
Absolutely. Well, I can't believe that nearly an hour has gone by. I want to get to your book cover, which, so that is The Haunted Hill House, Where Spirits Speak by Martha Hazard Decker. Where can people get a copy of your book?
They can get that on Amazon, and that book, hopefully next year, maybe part 2 will come out. That'll be on the murders in the house. Hopefully next year. We got too busy this year with a lot of things to really get going on that one. But they can get that one on Amazon. Okay.
All right. So
or from me, they can contact me if they want a signed copy or something, and they can just contact me direct.
And we've got your website there, mardeck.com is your website. And I assume you're going back to Hill House in the future, and you're planning on continuing that.
Yeah, I'll be back. I don't know when, but I'll be back.
Yeah, it's hard to stay away from the good ones where you know that there's always going to be something going on, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's almost always something more than just residual. I just have to be careful when I work on some of the work on the murder book, because one of the murders is still open, and there's possible suspects in town.
Oh,
and
still living.
Still living, because this one was, in 2018, it was 10 years old, and then after that person went missing, about a year after that, another person went missing. And that person's, her name was Candace, and her boyfriend is actually in prison right now. He confessed to her murder, but he won't say where she is. And a lot of us feel like she's probably buried on the property. And then the lot next door has no house right now, but there were at least 8 murders and a police shootout over there when the house was there. And this was confirmed with a mayor and a constable. The constable was the police chief at the time that occurred.
Oh, my goodness. Well, it sounds like a busy place, and I thank you for sharing all that information with us this evening,
Sure.
Martha. And thank you for coming on the program. I will be in touch with you for sure. We'll do some more things in the future. So thank you.
Sounds good. You're welcome.
All right. That was Martha Hazard Decker, and she's got a lot more stories to tell. So I'm definitely going to have her back on the program. That's for sure. Until next time, this is Margie K with UNX News, and I'll see you next week.
You've been listening to the UNX News Podcast with Margie K. Any rebroadcast or duplication of this program or its content without express written permission from UNX Media or Margie K herself is strictly prohibited. The UNX News Podcast, in direct cooperation with the internet website unxmedia.com.